Hi guys. Today we're going to be talking about how can pranayama specifically help people with scoliosis. So real quick, for those who may not be as familiar, what is pranayama? Pranayama is one of the most powerful, one of the most dynamic, and one of the most transformative tools that we have in yoga. It is essentially the breathing part of the practice. And prana means many things. Prana means life force, it means intelligence, it means breath. And without prana, without breath, we are just a vessel. It is our breath that makes us come alive, and it is through the breath that we can transform our body, we can transform our thoughts, we can transform our life. So by incorporating pranayama throughout our practice, it can completely change the outcome of our practice, how we feel, not only that day, but throughout the rest of the week and our interactions with others and all that we feel that we are capable of and achieving. So it's critical and it's beautiful and it's wonderful. So how can we incorporate it and use it specifically for people with scoliosis? So this is my little spine friend here. If someone has a scoliosis, the spine, remember, is curved a little bit to the right, and then it's also there's usually a compensating curve somewhere below, okay? And where the curve is over, say in this case to the right, the ribs on one side are splayed out on the side of that convexity, and on the side of the concavity, if I can give him a little bit more of a curve there, on the side of the concavity, these ribs are compressed. They are squished in, okay? In addition to the curve being to the right and to the left and the ribs being splayed on one side and then compressed on the other, remember that there's also rotation. So on the side of the convexity on the right, in the back, these ribs are rotated back. That's what gives us the thoracic prominence when we go into that forward bend. We see that rib hump. Those ribs in the spine, those vertebral bodies are rotated back. And then in the front, where there's a concavity in the back here on the left, the ribs are rotated forward here on this left side, giving us this ventral rib prominence. Okay, so not only is there asymmetry to the right and to the left, there's also rotational asymmetry, and then there's also some extension going on in the spine. So what's really important is when we are doing our practice, we first want to find the most optimally balanced posture possible. What does that mean? It means that when we are sitting down to begin our practice, we want to be mindful that our trunk is balanced, that we're not leaning to the left, that we're not leaning to the right, that we have equal pressure under both sides of our sits bones, that our spine is lengthened, that we almost imagine a string attached to the crown of the head, lengthening the crown of the head up towards the sky, but doing so without arching the spine, because oftentimes there's a tendency to kind of arch through the spine to make that happen. See if we can keep the ribs in just a little bit. On the side where there's what we call a ventral flat zone, where the ribs are in on the side of that thoracic convexity, we do want to keep that rib open, but we don't want both ribs to flare out, if that makes sense, okay? So lengthening, promoting equal breath through both sides of the rib cage, because remember, on the side of the convexity, where the ribs are splayed out, remember how they're squished over here. So if we begin to find some axial elongation, okay, we're axial expansion elongation, and we're lengthening the spine up, we want to begin to bring awareness of the breath to both sides of the ribs, but emphasize expansion on the side of the concavity, especially on the side and the back, okay? Just kind of thinking lovely about that, because remember, everything in this world is going to go in the direction of least resistance. A ball rolls downhill, kids go to the easiest parent, breath is going to go where there's the most space. So if there's more space over here, breath is continually going to go where there's more room. If this side is compressed and collapsed, it's going to be harder for breath to go there. So if we can physically make that space happen, then we can begin through our mind to direct more breath into the side of this concavity. So we want to find our most optimally balanced posture possible. We want to begin to expand the rib cage side to side, emphasizing the expansion on the side of the thoracic concavity. We want to open the side where that chest is sunken in a little bit in our ventral flat zone, okay? And we want that midline posture, okay, without arching the spine. So it's a tall order, no pun intended, or maybe pun intended. So those are some basic things to start with. How can pranayama specifically help the person with scoliosis? So number one, as we just talked about, it's an incredible opportunity to expand the breath through the side of the concavity. It's a powerful thing, way beyond just sitting and breathing in our everyday life. One, we're bringing awareness to our posture. Two, we're bringing awareness to the breath. Three, we can begin to shape the breath as an actual exercise, just like we would do lunges or squats. We can begin to prescribe the length, the duration, the intensity of breath work to create more expansion, to create more stability, both in the body as well as the mind. And that's both the beauty and the power of pranayama. So those are a couple things there. Pranayama also strengthens our nervous system, primarily through the way of the vagus nerve. As we smooth and regulate the breath, we smooth and regulate the mind. That then has a positive impact on our blood pressure and our cardiovascular system. As we practice pranayama, as we begin to smooth and regulate our breath and we smooth and regulate our mind, we stabilize our blood pressure, and we stabilize our heart rate. We remove all those crazy highs and lows, and we are able to stay at a place of homeostasis much more consistently throughout the day. It's very much akin to being gentle, being consistent with our pressure on our gas and the brake in our car. If we are constantly gunning the gas, if we are constantly slamming on the brakes, we're going to go through gas a lot faster. We're going to go through our brakes and need brake replacements a lot faster, brake pad replacements a lot faster. If we are able to stay at a place of homeostasis, then we are less jarred by life. It takes more to throw us off kilter. We are less likely to fly off the handle. We can collect our thoughts in situations that challenge us and come up with creative solutions so much more easily. So pranayama affects not only the body, but also the mind and the nervous system, our cardiovascular system. In addition to bringing more blood through the vascular system, we're also better able to oxygenate all of the organs and all of the tissues. When we incorporate certain exercises or certain breath exercises like Kapalabhati or Bhastrika, which are these really powerful breaths, much more than Anulom Vilom, which are these alternate nostril breathing exercises. But Kapalabhati is this almost abdominal pumping action. Through pranayamas like Bhastrika and Kapalabhati, we're able to push through some of the stagnant blood in our digestive tract. And when we are able to kind of unstick that, then we are able to get that blood moving through our bloodstream more. So it's not just like sitting in pools at the lower parts of our digestive tract and organs. We're then making that blood available for more oxygenation throughout our whole body. In addition to benefiting our cardiovascular system, our digestive system, our nervous system, practicing pranayama is also an incredible opportunity to help strengthen the diaphragm and teach our bodies how we can breathe more primarily through our diaphragm instead of going into this short, shallow breath and just defaulting to our upper respiratory system. Oftentimes, especially here in Western culture, we hold our breath or we're breathing shallowly throughout the day, and we don't realize that until we, catch ourselves and we weren't even breathing much at all. I mean, we're breathing, we're not turning blue, but we're not getting full oxygenation. And oftentimes when we're breathing shallowly, our posture also begins to collapse. our spine begins to slump, our head begins to slink forward, and as our head begins to slink forward, we get more compression in the back of the neck, and we can also create more compression throughout the rest of the spine as well. As we are, number one, mindful of our posture, and we can begin to lengthen up and promote more symmetry, but then also more mindful and aware of our breath, promoting more diaphragmatic expansion, so that when we breathe, we're breathing first from our diaphragm instead of just from the upper respiratory system. Then we are reducing compression in our neck, we are reducing compression in our lumbar spine, and not only are we strengthening our nervous system in a healthy way, we're also promoting the health of our spine for years and decades going forward. So pranayama includes hundreds of different techniques with thousands of applications. Just like we can choose exercise to fit a specific person and fit their specific needs, we can choose pranayama prescriptively for each person, specific to their physical, their spiritual, their emotional needs. And that's the beauty and the power of pranayama as well. What we do one day, we can change one of those variables the next day to get a completely different outcome. So it's a really, really great thing. The other really nice thing about pranayama is that it is a pneumatic stabilizer. We can leverage the stabilizing power of the breath to not only expand and stabilize our body, but also to expand and stabilize our thoughts and our mind. And as we expand and stabilize our mind, it expands all that we are capable of. And we realize that we are really limitless. So it's exciting in that way as well. So if you're not already including pranayama in your yoga practice, in your exercise routine, I hope that this information was inspiring a bit so that you are curious to learn more. I have loads of Breath Connection 101 videos here on YouTube and on my website, so feel free to have a look at those and play with that. Let me know your thoughts and your questions, and I look forward to seeing you next time. Take care.